Hi, my name's Nick. I'm a more mature dentist that's moved to Denmark to practice dentistry. I originally had my own practice in Hull for 25 years nearly, sold up and moved over to Denmark. So, what about English, learning Danish, and working in Denmark? So, if you're lucky enough to have transferred your degree, so you've got authorization in Denmark, then you need to have a high enough level of Danish. If you look on the websites, the healthcare website, you'll find that you need what's called the PD3. You need a score 10 in the oral communication, 7 in the reading, and 7 in the writing. If any of you are familiar with the IELTS test for any foreign nationals that come to the UK, it's set at the same level of English that you have to pass to work in the UK. So, my tips for learning the language. One of them is, I originally went to a language school. I found that quite slow and frustrating because you're in a group with other nationalities all trying to learn Danish, and progress can be slow, especially learning the pronunciation. Everyone has their own pronunciation because they all come from different countries, and that can kind of dilute your learning process. And as I say, it can be a little bit slow. So I was more of a self-taught language learner. It did help, I must admit, by having a partner that's Danish, but it is sometimes very easy too easy actually, to slip into speaking English rather than Danish. So I had some books that I used to help me from home. One of those was Videre mod dansk, trin for trin. That's what a lot of the language schools use. It starts at very basic level and can take you all the way through to PD3. There are CDs that go with it that can help you with the learning. There's also books that's specifically targeted for learning the technique to pass each section of the language exams. I did find those books a little bit dry and it could be a little bit boring at times. So other ways to pick up the language, reading DR News with the help of Google Translate, films with subtitles in Danish, or Danish films with English subtitles. One thing that's really good, the Disney Channel, you go onto a lot of their films, they have Danish subtitles, or even better, a lot of the animated films. I'm a Star Wars fan. A lot of the animated films, you can have the language in Danish, the subtext in Danish, or you can have the language in Danish, subtext in English, and vice versa. So that can help. There's some good podcasts out there on Spotify. There's one called Dansk i Ørene, and the lady there, she speaks really nice, clear Danish at a nice low speed, and it helps you pick up the words. And she has a website that helps you as well. And there's another one called Køen på Isen. That, again, nicely spoken Danish, helping you pick up words and some of the kind of little nuances of the Danish language. The hardest thing I found was getting Danish out of my mouth. I could read it and understand it. I could listen to it, and I found I could pick up more words and start to understand more and more of the spoken word. But the hardest thing for me was actually getting the words out of my mouth. Good ways to help here. Libraries, they often do study clubs where they have volunteers coming in, and they divide you up into different language abilities, levels, and just start practicing talking, and very friendly, and an easy way to learn, and also a good way to meet other people. You could find make a Danish friend would be happy to practice with you. I did read somewhere, try and talk to your neighbours, practice with your neighbours. Get an online tutor. I did that. There's an app called italki. You can read through the tutors. They can be in different parts of the world. Danish language, Danish speakers. Some of them are teachers. Some of them are just doing it for themselves. And I spent 2 years doing that with an online tutor, and that worked very well. There's plenty on YouTube that you can use. You just search Danish language. And there's also a lady I used called DitDance, www.ditdance.dk, and she has a very structured way of learning, and she's got a lot of written material and weekly releases to help with the learning, and she's very good at preparing you for the PD3, and she's very accurate in deciding if you're going to, what level you're going to be able to pass the PD3 at. I believe it's possible to start from very little to pass the PD3 in 18 months. My recommendation would be to apply for the PD1 as soon as you can. Well, let's say there's 3 or 4 months to the PD1. I think it would be in anyone's reasonable grasp to reach PD1 within that time frame if you use the books, especially the book that helps you use a technique to pass the exam. I was finding I was spending, when I wasn't working, because I was working part-time in the UK, I was spending 2 to 4 hours a day studying the language. Potentially I overdid that, because each time I pass the exams, I kind of what I call overpass them, but that's me. I'm quite good at doing that. Once you've got the PD3, it prepares you for talking generally with people, but I wouldn't say it prepares you for working as a dentist, and for that matter, I'm sure as a medic, because it doesn't prepare you for asking the clinical questions. You can learn to ask the clinical questions, but when you are working, it does really help if you've got a nurse that speaks English, that can help you through diagnosing and understanding what the patient's going to say. It especially helps if that nurse can explain to the patient before you come into the room or while you're there what's happening, what you're going to do, and have they got any questions they want to ask. And as in general, when you're speaking with patients, or when you're just learning to get the words out of your mouth, that you've just got to accept you're going to make mistakes, and sometimes people are going to come straight back at you and talk in English, which is fine, but you just keep trying until they don't come back to you and speak in English. Then you know you're making some progress. I've also found when I'm speaking with patients, there's 3 types of language interactions I have. Those that say, okay, my English is good, let's just talk English. That's fine. Quite often I ask the patients, do they speak English? And then tell them, okay, but I'm going to speak Danish because I just want to practice. There's another group that are happy to let you speak your best Danish, even though it might not be great, but they seem to understand you and you get on fine. I think that's because they're pleased you're trying to speak Danish. Or there's the other group that just don't understand your best Danish, and I still can't work out why they don't understand a word I say. But that's when you need a good nurse to help you. So that's all I've got to say about speaking, the language and learning Danish from an English speaker, and then using it within dental practice. I've been working 18 months now, and I'm still finding it hard work, but I get a little better each day. I've got a little cheat sheet. Message me, subscribe, and I can send you the cheat sheet with some of the web links that might help you just go further with this. Thanks for listening.